Okay,
topic.
don't worry. We are
Oh, yeah.
five people. We are Maria, Juliana, Rosamelia, Dariel, and Jonathan. This is Dariel. We are gonna talk a little bit about the Renaissance and the impact that this topic has in history of English. We're gonna do a brief presentation, and Maria is gonna start right now.
Hello, my name is Maria Magdalena Sosa, and I will talk about the Renaissance. The Renaissance, changing condition in the modern period. The Renaissance was a cultural, scientific, and philosophical movement that emerged in Europe between 15th and 16th centuries, making the transition from the Middle Age to the modern age. Its name comes from the word repairs, as is involved with the recovery and renewal of classical Greco-Roman value, especially in the art, literature, and thought. During the Renaissance, English underwent decisive transformation that took it from being considered a crude and limited language to becoming a legitimate vehicle for knowledge, literature, and politics. Also, during the period, English was enriched with thousands of new words. Its value in relation to Latin was debated, and attempts were made to standardize its spelling. Factor that drove linguistic change. That factor was printing press, popular education, communication and expansion, especially knowledge and linguistic awareness. It fed grammar and vocabulary. During the Renaissance, English was conservative in grammar but radical in vocabulary. The printing press, education, and social awareness helped establish grammatical structure, while the translation of classical texts, the rise of science and global communication supported the incorporation of thousands of new words. Problem faced by English and recognition in the face of Latin. English faced three major problems common to other vernacular languages. First, achieving recognition in the face of the prestige of Latin. Second, establish more uniform spelling. And third, enrich its vocabulary to express the new knowledge of the time. Solving this problem were keys to English transformation from a language considered limited to becoming a language of culture and science. Also, it was used in popular literature. Latin continued to dominate academic knowledge. The problem of spelling. One of the great problems of English was spelling. There was no fixed system, and the same word could be spelled in many ways. Some attempt, some attempt radical reform, such as creating new alphabet, but they failed due to their complexity. But since 2004, by 1615, English spelling was practically established. The problem of lexical enrichment. One of the major problems of the Renaissance was the enrichment of vocabulary. English was seen as insufficient for expressing the new idea of the time. Also, like Eliot introduced new words like education, dedication, eating, and marriage, many for the first time. To throw borrowing from Latin, Greek, French, and Italian. English incorporated thousands of new terms and became a language capable of expressing science, philosophy, and literature with the same dignity as Latin. Opposition to Inhofe. Some intellectuals criticize the excessive use of the foreign word, consider them, of course, unnecessary or pedantic. Figures such as Sir John Checker and Thomas Wilson champion a clear and simple, unified English. Also, many of the words were Italianly erased. Over time, they become part of the language and are not part of everyday English. In conclusion, the period was a period of transition, conflict, and creative for the English language, thanks to the printing press, education, Renaissance role, and the effort it writer and translator. English was transformed into a rich, expressive, and cultivated language. This evolution was neither linear nor perfect, but it laid the foundation for the modern English we know today. Thank you. The next partner, please.
Linguistic borrowing in the Renaissance. Linguistic debate. During the 16th and 17th century, there was a heated debate about whether English should remain pure or whether it should accept new words from other languages, especially Latin and Greek. Proponents of borrowing. They argue that all major languages, like Latin and Greek, have grown thanks to borrowing. They say that new words sound strange at first, but as they became commonplace, they believe that borrowing enriched the languages and made it more precise. Um, Opponents and right. They reject so-called informed terms, overly elaborate words. They criticize the excessive and pedantic use of Latin words. Compromise. Over time, a middle group was accepted. New words could be used, but without overdoing it. Excessive use was criticized, but moderate borrowing became common and enduring contribution. They will Renaissance contributed a hundred of words that are now fundamental, such as democracy, encyclopedia, adapt, assignated, assigned, ideology, excess, crisis, system, and tax um, adaptation. Many words were modified to fill into English, changing endings or pronunciation, conspicuous, conspicuous, brevitas, and reject words. Many did not survive because they were unnecessary or too complex, such as glutamate, the stimulant, anencephaly, etc. Influence of friends. Um, sorry. Influence of friends. In many cases, it is not possible to distinguish whether a word comes into English directly from Latin or through French, since both languages contributed at the same time. Thank you. Next,
Very good. Who's next? Who's next? You know?
Yes, me.
Ooh, perfect.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rosa Amelia, and I'm going to talk about the enrichment of the English language. Continue. Words from the Romances language. During the Renaissance, English borrowed a great number of words from Romances languages, mainly French, Latin, Italian, and Spanish. French contribute words related to law, government, and culture. Justice, core, religion, and religion. You can say here. Latin gave more academic, scientific, and religious terms. For example, radios, encyclopedia, and educate. Italian and Spanish enrich English with words from art, music, and exploration. For example, opera, piano, guitar, cargo, armada. This borrowing reflect England contact with Europe through trade, diplomacy, and cultural exchange. Continue. The method of introducing new words. New words enter English through several channels. Translation of classical texts, literature and poetry, travel education and science. Translations. Scholars translating Latin or Greek texts introduce technical vocabulary. Literature. Writers, especially poets and playwrights, adopt foreign terms to sound elegant or innovate. Travel and trade, merchant brought new words along with new goods. Education. The revival of classical learning spanned Latin-based terms in philosophy, medicine, and science. Continue, please. Enrichment from native sources. No, not all enrichment came from borrowing. English also grew using its own native resources. Compounding, joining words, for example, sunrise and football. Affixation, adding prefixes or suffices. For example, happiness and kingdom. Conversation, changing words, places, changing word classes without altering form. For example, to stone, a stone. This show English could balance external influence with internal creativity. Balance between borrowing and creation. Continue, please. Excuse me, I am in the hospital. A method of interpreting the new words. At first, many borrowed words were difficult for ordinary speaker. People learn their meaning through contest, contest in the test and play, glossary and notes, adaptation to English culture. For example, virtue, moral meaning. Continue. Dictionaries of hard words. Because many new words were hard or unfamiliar, special dictionary appeared to explain them. The first was Robert Coundress Table Alphabetical 1604, with containing about 3,000 difficult words. These words aimed to help skilled person to understand learning vocabulary. This was the beginning of English lexicography. Continue, please. Nature and extent of the movement. The period saw a huge growth of vocabulary. By 17th century, English had thousands of new words, both borrowed and created. The language became more flexible and precise. It language it gained prestige as a language of science, philosophy, and literature instead of being seen as inferior to Latin. This linguistic movement gave English the impressive reach it has today. Continue, please. The movement illustrated in Shakespeare used over 20,000 words, borrowed and invented new terms. For example, lonely, majesty, critical, y shower created of English. Continue, please. For conclusion, the enrichment of English in the 16th and 17th century was the result of two forces: external borrowing from Romance's language and internal creativity from native resources. Dictionaries help spread difficult words. Shakespeare, as key example, in English became rich, expressive, and global. This is my part. Continue, please. The other people. Dariel, continue.
Yeah, my apologies. I was trying to remove the mute. Okay, so I'm gonna do a brief presentation with some topics. So I'm gonna begin talking about Shakespeare's pronunciation. We know Shakespeare from United Kingdom. He wrote during the early modern English period when the sound system of English was in rapid transition due to the Great Babel Shift. His works reflect a form of speech called original pronunciation, OP, which feature rhotic sounds, clear consonants, and vowel qualities different from today's English. Many of Shakespeare's rhymes and puns only make sense when reading OP. For example, love rhyming with proof and reason with season. You can go next, please. Cool. So now we're going to talk about the importance of sound changes. Sound changes are one of the most important forces shaping the history of languages, including English, of course. They explain why words that once sounded similar no longer rhyme, which spelling and pronunciation often don't match, and how new accents and dialects emerge over time. You can go next. Okay, we have here from Old to Middle English. This transition from Old English to the middle one, which is like for years 450 to 1100, and then 1100 to 1500. This was shaped by major historical and linguistic events, most importantly, the Norman conquest of uh, 1066. Old English was a highly inflected Germanic language with complex grammar and many case endings, but after the Normans established control, French became the language of government, law, and the upper classes. So then we do the transition from the Middle English to the modern one. This shift was from the years 1100 to 1500. This is Middle English, and then the Modern English was from 1500 to 1700. This was driven by major social and cultural transformations, especially the Renaissance, the growth of education, and the introduction of the printing press by William Caxton back there in 1476. Printing helped and standardized spelling and grammar, reducing the wide variation found in Middle English manuscripts. You can go next. So now we have the Great Vowel Shift. This vowel shift was a major series of pronunciation changes that took place in English roughly between the 15th and 17th centuries, marking one of the most significant turning points in the history of the language. So then we have the weakening of unaccented vowels. This was a major sound change that helped transform English from a highly inflected language into more simplified form we know today. In Old English, unstressed syllables had a variety of vowels that marked important grammatical endings. But during the middle period, these vowels gradually collapsed into a single neutral sound, similar to the modern English. You can go next. Well, actually, I'm over. Who's next? Yeah.
I'm Jonathan Olasco, and I'm going to talk about grammatical categories during Renaissance. The noun. The noun category achieved near the same morphological state it holds in present-day English. Crucially, it completed the loss of case inflection, meaning nouns no longer look different endings to indicate whether they were the subject, object, or recipient of an action. The function of the noun became dependent almost entirely on word order within the sentence. The plural marker was fully standardized to the suffix "s" or "s", with only a handful of common irregular forms serving. Example: men, feet, between others. The possessive case remained solidified as the "s" ending. Example: man's power, which was often written without the apostrophe in the early part of the pyro. The adjective. The adjective became almost completely unpleasant. Unlike in Old or Middle English, early Modern English adjectives no longer took endings to agree with the number order of case of the noun they modified. They maintain entirely invariable in form, a key feature of Modern English structure. The only inflection suffixes that remain constantly in use were those indicating degree of comparisons. The comparative suffix, example, greater, and the superlative suffix, example, greatest. The pronoun system underwent a significant social and grammatical change centered on the second person. The singular familiar forms thou, thee, thy, and thine began their irreversible decline, being replaced in standard usage by the plural forms you, your, and yours. Although thou persists faithfully in Shakespeare's. It used because highly marked either intimate disdainful. The verb system simplifies its ending dramatically, most notably the third person. Singular present tense lost its variation. The older ending "-ets", example, loves, doubts, was rapidly replaced by the simpler "s", example, loves, does, which is now the sole standard form. The use of auxiliary verb became firmly established, particularly do and d, which became mandatory for forming negative and question form. Example, I did not go. Did you see? Replacing the older, simpler inversion and not replacement. Example, I went not. So you. The usage and idiom. The hallmark of Renaissance usage was its lexical expansion due to the renewed study of classical texts, humanism, and advances in science and administration. English saw the avalanche of borrowing from Latin, Greek, and other European languages. This led to the so-called Icaron controversy, a debate over whether the new learned words were necessary or merely pretensions. That's all. Thanks for your time. That was our presentation.